Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we will try to solve a very interesting question asked in Facebook's data analyst and data scientist interviews. We will solve this problem on the platform Stratascratch, where we can write and run our code and test it against various test cases. So let's begin. Here is the question. Meta or Facebook Messenger stores the number of messages between users in a table named fb_messages. In this table, user 1 is the sender, user 2 is the receiver, and message_count is the number of messages exchanged between them. Find the top 10 most active users on Facebook by counting the total number of messages sent and received. Your solution should output username and the count of the total messages they sent or received. So the output that is expected from our side is to get the list of usernames and the count of the total messages they sent or received, which is termed as the most active users. One common mistake that most candidates commit here is that they tend to relate most active users to only the number of messages a user is sending. This is something that needs to be kept in mind while solving this question, is that it also includes the number of messages a user is receiving. It's also a great takeaway that this has been mentioned clearly in the question, which isn't usually the case. Now that we are clear of the question, let's start solving it. Although before solving it, let's also try to understand what is expected as output from our side and also have a look at what data is provided to us. So the output that is expected from our side is to get username and the total message count. And for doing this, we are provided with a table called fb_messages, which is of the structure id, date, user1, user2, message_count. id here I believe is just serial number or row number of the table, date being the date on which the exchange of messages took place. User1, as also mentioned in the question, is the sender, user2 is the receiver, and message_count is the number of messages they exchanged during that conversation. For solving these kind of problems, what I usually do is to break down the problem into subparts, solve them individually, and combine them again. And this is something that I would recommend everyone to do as well. So for this problem, we can break down the problem into the subparts as follows. Firstly, count the number of messages sent by each user. Second would be to count the number of messages received by each user, and then to combine the above two. And as mentioned in the question, that we are trying to output only the top 10 most active users. So it is necessary for us to even order it by the number of messages, and at last limit the count to 10. The output format expected from our side is username message_count. Let's begin by solving the first part, wherein we are trying to get the count of number of messages sent by each user. Here in the table, user1 corresponds to sender. So the sum of the messages count to each of the user1 will give us the count of the number of messages sent by each user. Select user1, sum of message_count from fp underscore messages made by user 1. Let's just try running this snippet to understand if we are getting our expected output. Yes. So this is the count of the number of messages each of these user is sending. Now to get the number of messages each of the users is receiving, we'll just replace the user 1 part with user 2 over here, because user 2 corresponds to the person receiving those messages. Select user 2 from sum of message underscore count from underscore messages grouped by user 2. Now to combine the result of these two queries, we will be using something called as union. What basically union does is it basically combines the result set of two different select statements. The only catch here is whenever we are using the union, the columns of the first select statement and the column types of the second select statement needs to be same. Let's just try running this whole snippet to understand if we are getting our expected output. Yes. So user 1 here corresponds to the username, while sum corresponds to the total sum of the messages a user has sent and received. Now to order the whole thing by the total number of messages sent or received, we'll be using order by sum descending. What this basically does is it orders the usernames in descending order of the total number of messages each user has sent or received. The final part is to limit the whole output to only 10 users to get the top 10 most active users. Let's run the whole query. Hopefully this gives us our output. So now let's hit the submit button and let's check if our solution is correct. Yeah, it worked. If you like the video, please show some love by hitting the like button, share it to your friends who you think this might help. Do not forget to subscribe to stay updated. Also, in case you want to try this problem or similar ones, head out to stratascratch.com. I'll leave a link down in the description. Till then, peace.